Good morning. You are getting poked by Laura. How you doing? If you've not already done so, please become a member of my Patreon. It's free. You have access to my full library of podcasts. At this point, I have over 190, and they cover a wide variety of issues, including some of the basic foundations of East Asian, aka Chinese medicine. So if you've ever been curious about acupuncture, herbs, Tui Na, cupping, all of the myriad of treatments involved in East Asian medicine, this will give you more insight into the foundations of the medicine, how we diagnose, and how we look at the body. So I encourage you to join on Patreon as a member. I'm under Nice Needles. You can also find on YouTube. Please subscribe there. I am trying to reach 1,000 followers because it kind of transitions me into being able to earn some money. Is one of my other purposes of this endeavor, but it's all free for you. So please do that easy thing, become a member, subscribe, all the things. And the secondary benefit of following me and joining in this process with me as I create a new way to become educated and to take power over your body and your health is that I want to answer your questions. And most of the things that I'm going to be recording on for the next few weeks are going to be the questions or the topics that I've been encouraged by people in my lives or people in my actual life who've said, you know, this is the stuff we want to know. So, oh boy, is that not plugged in? Oh no, that is plugged in. Okay, good. Technical difficulties. So I had a question or a topic that was brought up. They did not elaborate, so I'm just going to talk real generally. This may be a short episode today. We'll see on how the ramble goes. But the question was from a new member on Patreon, and they said, can you talk about bad breath? Yes, I can. And in fact, if you go into my medical, what do you call it, file, like there's different files you can have on TikTok. I have one section that is viral and another that's medical. I'm not sure where the video is, but it did go viral. And it was someone who had directed me to a post about a girl talking about some like stones in her tonsils, tonsil stones. And she was looking for help because she hadn't been able to get rid of them or find a diagnosis. And in my medicine, that's so straightforward. It's so, I'm sorry to say it, but it's so simple to treat and to diagnose. But usually, you know, people don't know. They don't understand that this medicine can treat and diagnose almost literally anything. We just don't know as Westerners that's the case. I'm really hoping that this is recording because boop, 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 boop. The microphone is not. Is the microphone on? It doesn't seem like it's on. Okay, it says it's on. We'll see. I might have to re-record this. All right, we'll give it a shot. So bad breath can be related to those things like tonsil stones. And I think I talked about it in the video. I think the video had like 70,000+ views or something. So the information was out there in that one instance. But beyond that video, we can talk specifically about bad breath. Oh, also in my tongue video, which has about 2 million views, I talk about bad breath there. But in holistic medicine, and if we're talking about chronic bad breath, which I'm sure is what this person was talking about, right? I'm not talking about if you ate some garlic bread or some raw garlic or something like that. Chronic bad breath, chronic halitosis, if dental hygiene is good, if the diet is good, if we're not eating things that are, you know, just causing an obvious problem. Generally speaking, bad breath in that case, and again, this is generally speaking, but pretty true, is you're going to have an issue in the stomach. So the stomach is the direct pathway from the esophagus, right, that leads down to our stomach. And that pathway can come up as well as go down. And so chronic bad breath, chronic halitosis, does point to an issue with the stomach. And generally speaking, if the breath is bad, we are dealing with either a heat or a fire issue within the stomach. Now, heat and fire in this medicine, as they're diagnosed, can have different causes. The causes can be a deficiency, the causes can be an excess, or the causes can be a combination of both of those things. So if you have heat in the stomach, you might think, oh, or fire, we got to put out that fire, or we need to cool that heat, maybe. I mean, definitely, right? We definitely want to cool that fire, but how do we do it? This is where the solutions in holistic medicine can be a little bit more complex than in Western medicine. Because in Western medicine, you're going to have one pill, one treatment generally for a condition, because they just see it as bad breath. I mean, it's not a great example in Western medicine, but if we're just, using it as an example in this case, like, right, they have one pill, one treatment. And if that doesn't work, then you're screwed, or you're caught on that medication for the rest of your life, and there might be other effects of those drugs. Things like when I look at proton pump inhibitors, which a lot of people are on, known as PPIs. If you read the insert, which I highly recommend that you do for any over-the-counter or prescription medication that you take, always read the insert. What they call side effects, there's no such thing as side effects. There are effects. And every drug is going to have an effect. And the longer you take that drug, whether it is over-the-counter or whether it is prescription, the more severe those side effects or that damage are going to be. Now, it might be worth it in the cost benefit of your circumstance, of your lifestyle, of your willingness, in terms of your own involvement. We're not all in the same place. We don't all have the same circumstances of life, or the same drive or willingness to heal. And that's okay. There's no moral authority or high ground here. You do what you need to do. But I think what you need to do and what you're able to do is largely fueled by what you know is possible. So when we're looking at something like PPIs, and I'll get back to the bad breath with this, PPIs are not supposed to be taken for more than, if I remember correctly, the last time I read one of those inserts, I think 6 weeks. I have met and worked with patients. In fact, I had a family member who has been on these for decades. And anyone who's tried to get off of PPIs knows that the longer you're on it, most people will tell you it's impossible, because the rebound of the reflux that they experience is so extreme. And reflux is dangerous over time. That causes real damage. It can cause throat cancer. It can cause stomach cancer. Right? Because that fire is burning you up, and your body's a limited resource. It only has so much ability to continue to heal without there being the effect of some other dis-ease in that tissue or in those organs. So people tend to stay on them. But then when they stay on them, there are effects like issues with your thyroid, issues with your kidneys, hair loss. I mean, all kinds of things that, doctors don't address, they don't discuss with patients, and there's no exit strategy. That's one of the things I say to people. Look, do what you got to do. I'm not here to judge you. That's not my job. That's not my place. You do what you have to do. But there needs to be an exit strategy when we're talking about pharmaceuticals, because there are severe consequences for most of these drugs. And again, the cost benefit might be there. Perhaps this is someone in their later stage of life. Perhaps this is someone that doesn't have the time or energy or access to different treatments. And so this is the one that they need to take, and they need to take that heavy spoon of it. Like, okay, I'm going to lose 10 years of my life, or I'm going to have ill health in other ways. I'll deal with that when it comes, because I understand. But most people don't even know that these things are happening. And they certainly, and it's what I say to every patient who comes in and has been put on a drug, what is the exit strategy? How do we get off this? Do you want to get off of this? Most people say, yeah. Most people don't want to be stuck on a pharmaceutical drug or an over-the-counter medication for the rest of their life, especially once they understand the drawbacks. Like, oh, I didn't know that this could screw my kidneys up or my pancreas or whatever it happens to be. They don't know. So it's a very similar thing for nearly any condition we're talking about. Antacids, which I think a lot of people use for things like bad breath, because they have other stomach issues and disorders, right? And that's where I can help people to pinpoint and understand how this heat in the stomach, how this fire in the stomach is not just about the bad breath, which might be the symptom that they're getting feedback on, from their spouse or their partner, or when they go out on dates or coworkers or whatever, that it's an actual problem. But there usually are other health problems that they're just not connecting as being related. But once they understand that the imbalance is heat in the stomach, then we look at why the heat. What's happening? What's the imbalance? So if it's an excess in the stomach, if there's an excess of something, phlegm, fire, it might be diet related, something chronic that you're not aware of. And so we usually go through that. More often, there's a deficiency underlying that excess, that flaring up of heat, and the heat, it's heat because the breath is bad. I always tell people, when you have heat, generally there is a smell to it, or it's red or it's yellow. It's not always true, but generally speaking. It's like a bag of garbage that you leave outside on a cold day versus a hot day, right? I don't usually have to go too far into explaining that for people to get it. When there's heat there, it tends to make things smelly. When there's cold, the smell gets frozen, right? It doesn't proliferate as much. So if we're working with a deficiency, which usually in the stomach it is, we have that excess, but the reason there's an excess is because that other thing is missing to hold that organ in balance. So in the stomach is already a hot type organ. It's a food processor, literally, right? We first process it in the mouth, we chew things, and then the food, when it goes down, goes into the stomach, not to be digested into the body yet. No, the stomach is there to further break down that food that you've already chewed, hopefully well. But in case you haven't, the stomach it has acids in there. It gets stuff from the pancreas, and it helps to break that food down so that when it then goes out through the jejunum, which is that intersection between the stomach and the small intestine, that soup of food that you've eaten can then be digested through the small intestine wall. It has to be small enough for the villi to grab it and for it to go through that small intestine wall into the body to then be utilized as raw materials and building blocks for healing and for living, right? For our energy. So the stomach is meant to be warm. It's basically a second oven. But if it's too hot, we can have acid reflux. That heat can affect our heart. We can have palpitations. We can have anxiety. We can have bad breath. All kinds of things that can come from too hot stomach. So again, the natural thinking is, okay, well, let's cool it down. Let's put some cooling herbs in there. But if underneath that heat, the reason that it's coming up is that you don't have this fundamental substantive balance of the fire. So the fire is an upward bearing thing. Think water in the stomach. It's not water, but we're going to use it as a metaphor because I don't want to get too deep into Chinese terms right now. If the water, the substance, is lacking, then we need to rebalance that stomach with substance, with that balancing element to the heat. And once you do that, it's amazing what happens. Suddenly the fire comes down. Suddenly the bad breath is gone. So this, again, as I say in every podcast, is one of the fundamental differences of holistic East Asian Chinese medicine. We don't just look at the Western symptom of halitosis or of bad breath. We look at the organ primarily responsible for where that smell is coming from. And then we pinpoint not only which organ, but also what is the imbalance. Is it a true excess? Is it a true deficiency? Is it a mix of both things? And then how do we rebalance that? And the cool thing about balancing is that it gives you strategies to empower you moving forward without having to rely on Western medications and drugs that cause other effects, while giving you back your health and also giving you a better understanding of your body and how it works. So there's a whole lot of benefit to that. So I can go more in depth. We can look at a case study if somebody wants to submit something they're dealing with. I would be happy to answer a specific question. But generally speaking, this is a good example of how differentiation of an individual, of their circumstance, of where they live, of what they eat, of their ancestry, and how their bodies can be rebalanced with a more in-depth look at what's happening for them personally. So can bad breath be treated? Absolutely. It's probably not necessarily one of the more simple things. Often what happens is someone will come in with a stomach issue or something like that, like something that seems simple, right? And they come in and we do a full medical history. Like a lot of times when people are filling out my paperwork, they're like, why do I need to answer all this? I'm just coming in for this thing. And it's like, right, but that thing exists within the entire system of your body. And if I don't understand your body, I don't understand your dis-ease process. I can't diagnose it properly. I have to understand the whole body. And often what happens is they'll come in for something simple and then we'll stumble across like, I don't know, I have irregular periods with whatever condition in that. Or I also have this flank side pain that I get when I eat, or, but they're not connecting those things. And so it's like, oh, actually, this isn't a stomach issue. Actually, this is a small intestine issue. But you just didn't know that this other thing that you're dealing with that you just kind of cope with and you're used to, and that other people don't complain about, right? Like bad breath. You're not connecting the two. You don't know that they're related because we tend to think of our bodies in parts and pieces. We tend to think of them as separate things, but they're not. It's an interconnected system. It's an interdependent system. So it doesn't have to mean that there's some other problem, but it certainly can. And again, this is why differential diagnosis and East Asian Chinese medicine is an empowering tool for long-term health and for long-term education that puts you in charge. So I really encourage you to go meet somebody like me or to join my Patreon as a free member, to subscribe to my YouTube, not only to support me, but to support yourself, because we can educate you. I can educate you. I can help you on your way. We need to empower our health. We are living in a time where Western medical facilities are falling apart. They are not functional. Even people inside those systems will tell you that. I have worked inside of those systems. It is certainly true, and it's not getting any better, folks. So I'm not here to make you feel bad about it. I'm here to tell you there are other options. There are other ways, and there are other systems that you can tap into, that you can bring into your home, that you can teach yourself, that you can teach your children, and it's not a short-term solution. These things are thousands of years old, and there's a reason they're still here. So let's get curious. Share me with your friends, neighbors, coworkers, family, loved ones. I would love to help you. Send your questions. Thanks. You just got poked. Bye.